There I stood, boots buried ankle-deep in thick mud, at the edge of the chaos. Behind me, what was once a proud dam, hand-built and battle-tested. In front of me, a savage torrent of water ripping through rows of shiny new houses. Homes that were never supposed to be there. Homes built illegally on my land by the Stone Creek Homeowners Association. Freeze frame. That's me, Elias Thorne, the man who watched a flood wipe an entire suburban fantasy off the map. And no, this wasn't an accident. You're probably wondering how it came to this. How a man lets an entire neighborhood drown. It started with betrayal, with theft, with a war I didn't pick, but one I damn sure was going to finish. When my grandfather, Amos Thorne, passed, he didn't just leave me land. He left me legacy, sacred, untamed land stretching farther than the eye could see. A valley that breathed with wild grass, whispered with secrets in the wind. And at its heart, the dam, built by his own hands after surviving a flood that nearly drowned this place. That dam wasn't just rocks and timber. It was defiance carved into the earth, a promise to protect what mattered. And with a will as clean and binding as mountain spring water, it was mine. For years, I lived quietly, working in town, walking the hills on weekends, mending fence lines, watching deer graze, listening to birdsong from the dam's crest. It was peace, or so I thought. Then came the letter. Crisp, white, cold, stamped in gold foil, Stone Creek HOA. I wasn't part of any damn HOA. My land sat outside town lines, protected by old zoning laws older than most of their board members. But this letter said otherwise. Claim my land had been redrawn into their community development map. Courtesy of some sneaky municipal vote I'd never even heard of, I showed up at the next town meeting, fists clenched and heart pounding. And there he was, a developer with slick hair and slicker lies, flashing new maps that showed my land gobbled up by Stone Creek, like it was always theirs. And standing right beside him, Miranda Hale, president of the HOA, a woman with a smile that could slice bone. She called it all a survey correction, an innocent mistake, head tilted like she was puzzled by my anger, like I was the one out of line. But I wasn't confused. I was cornered. The invasion was swift. Survey crews stormed my field without knocking. Bright neon flags popped up like infections. And before I could even find a lawyer, bulldozers started chewing through my pasture, right where Amos taught me to ride a horse. They moved fast, laying foundations for 58 so-called luxury homes. Like the land had no memory, like I didn't exist. I fought. I hired Tom Carver, a lawyer who still believed in paper trails and property rights. But even he paused when he saw the names on the permits. County clerks stopped answering. Complaints I filed vanished like smoke. And Miranda? She smiled through it all, backed by her obedient little board, nodding like bobbleheads. At the next HOA meeting, she even dared offer me a buyout. Said I should take the money before Progress left me behind. I stood, my voice booming like thunder across the room, and said, I'll never sell what my family built. Silence. Then came the retaliation. Violation notices flooded my mailbox. Fines for code infractions that didn't even exist. And one morning, a sign staked into my own yard. Private property, no trespassing. Stone Creek Development, on my land. I called the sheriff. He shrugged, said it was a civil matter. Every door closed, until one brave clerk at the recorder's office whispered the truth. Stone Creek HOA was funneling money into city council campaigns, buying votes, zoning exceptions, even environmental waivers. I wasn't just up against bad neighbors. I was up against a machine. Every time I pushed back, they hit harder. Lawsuits, threats. Smear campaigns painted me as some unhinged old-timer. So I changed tactics. I went quiet. No more town halls. No more shouting. Just polite nods when Miranda waved from her shiny black SUV. Let them think I was beaten, while they popped champagne over lot sales and hosted BBQs on half-paved patios. I documented everything. Photos, drone footage, audio recordings, blueprints that violated code. Drainage plans that ignored topography, trees bulldozed, wildlife displaced, creeks rerouted, and an Amos old workshop tucked beneath the dam, I built something they'd never see coming. Layered, undeniable proof. They thought I'd given up. They thought the land could be tamed. But they never learned the story of the dam. 80 years ago, floodwaters swallowed this valley, tore through homes, barns, families. Amos was a boy then, hauling sandbags, watching neighbors drown in rising mud. When the waters receded, he made a vow, never again. No engineers helped him. No grants, no blueprints. Just stone, timber, and a will that wouldn't bend. And that dam stood tall for generations, holding back mountain fury every spring. But Miranda and her builders, they didn't see history. They saw an eyesore. They paved over drainage ditches, buried runoff channels beneath cul-de-sacs and water features. And one day, I watched from a tree as an excavator clawed into the dam's edge. Not deep, just a scrape, but it was enough. Enough to change everything. I didn't yell, didn't protest. Instead, I stopped maintaining the dam. Stopped patching, clearing, reinforcing. I let the land do what it does best. Remember, debris gathered, pressure built, the earth held its breath, and I walked those woods like a ghost, while they toasted marshmallows over fire pits. Then came fall. Rain arrived early. I sat on my porch, coffee warm in my hands, watching puddles bloom across their perfect lawns. Winter soaked the soil. Spring came too heavy, too fast. And the land? The land was ready. I walked the edge of the old dam, boots crunching over shifting gravel, eyes tracing wider cracks, sagging earth where the backhoe had once struck. No, I didn't break the dam. That would have been a crime. I just stopped saving it. Nature doesn't need my help to settle scores. The HOA's arrogance had already sped things up. Their storm drains clogged. Lawns slid into retention ponds. Creeks, routed and restrained on blueprints, rebelled, carving their own paths with the rage of memory. The first storms were a warning. Sinkholes opened wide. Basements flooded. Unfinished lots turned into swamps. And Miranda? She blamed unseasonal rain. She ordered more dirt, more half measures, more fees for homeowners desperate to believe her. But the ground trembled beneath them. And still they built. I stayed silent. Just nodded when I passed Miranda at the gas station. She'd smile that smug smile, ramble about how Stone Creek was booming, but her words rang hollow. This wasn't revenge. This was justice, old as a mountain itself. Then the rainy season came, not with a whisper, but with a war cry. The first storm rolled in steady and merciless, pounding the valley until the very air hummed with tension. From my porch, thermos in hand, I watched rain swallow the mountains. Mist hung over Stone Creek like a warning. Porch lights flickered like fireflies, trying to hold back the dark. I knew what was coming. The clay would swell. The topsoil would crack. And the dam, wounded and forgotten, would not hold. Hour after hour, I walked the old fields. Now they were a patchwork of half-built homes and false promises. Cracks split new sidewalks. Water pooled in cul-de-sacs, seeped into basements. I passed Miranda's mansion. Columns, faux stone, the illusion of permanence. Saw her in the window, yelling into her phone. Construction crews scrambled, sandbags, trenches. But everything they did just made it worse. It was almost beautiful, like a tide reclaiming a sandcastle. Then came the second storm, colder, angrier. It roared down the mountain with the fury of something ancient. The air grew heavy. My skin prickled. The dam groaned. Leaks widened into muddy scars. Then a fist-sized breach spat out water. Then another. I stood on a ridge as rain stunned my face, watching the earth shake. The sound that followed was an explosion. It was something deeper. A slow, brutal collapse. Tons of furious water burst through, shredding trees, flattening fences, carving a path that had always been there, just waiting. It tore straight through Stone Creek. Homes vanished. Roofs floated like debris. Streets buckled, swallowing cars and mailboxes whole. Miranda's mansion lasted just a moment longer. I saw her silhouette on the porch, screaming. Then the flood hit. Her lawn liquefied. The house split, one half sliding into the torrent, the other collapsing in a groan of stone and vanity. In minutes, Stone Creek was gone. Emergency crews arrived too late. Their sirens were useless against the mountain's wrath. I watched, dry, calm, heart steady. Guilt tugged at me, but satisfaction roared louder. I'd warned them, filed notices, sent emails, all notarized, all ignored. Legally, I was clear. The insurance adjusters came, poking through the ruins. Act of God, they said. Negligence, the lawyers shot back. Miranda sued everyone. The county, the developers, even me. Nothing stuck. Investigations unraveled her empire. Bribes, fake reports, illegal filings. Homeowners sued. Banks collapsed. And the name Stone Creek became a curse whisper behind clenched teeth. Miranda lost it all. Her SUV, her jewelry, her pride. Last I heard, she was hiding out at a cousin's place. Bitter, broken, the HOA dissolved in lawsuits and shame. Quietly, I filed for adverse possession. No one fought me. The land, muddy and scarred, came back to me, acre by acre. I rebuilt the dam, stone by stone, side by side with old-timers who remembered Amos. It wasn't fancy, but it was strong. I let the fields go wild, let the creeks wander freely. Deer returned, and so did the silence. On a crisp fall morning, I planted a cedar post beside the highway, hung a new sign, "Welcome to Thorns Hollow. We respect the land." Below that, in smaller letters, "Built by nature, guarded by memory." At dawn, I sat on the dam's crest, coffee in hand, watching the valley glow gold beneath the morning sun. Scars lingered, a warped manhole, a tilted fence. But nature doesn't forget, and it never truly loses. I thought of Amos, his hands shaping this land, of Miranda, drowned by her own lies, of the flood that wiped away her kingdom and gave me mine back. The mountain rumbled, not angry, just content. I raised my thermos to the past, to the land, to the truth, and I smiled as the sun flooded Thorns Hollow. With light,